Now, it's only a matter of time before Star Wars really takes a more positive turn, and it already is with Jon and Dave in full control for the most part, with not just The Mandalorian Season 3, but also with Ahsoka and a lot of upcoming Star Wars shows that have yet to have been announced that will be at Celebration. The only two projects that fans need to worry about are The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, led by Kathleen Kennedy, and that brings us to the main subject for today, being Kathleen Kennedy herself, and how a damage control that she is dealing with has hit a whole new level within this franchise. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that we have a lot of projects that are about to be announced in different phases, mind you, not everything will be announced at Celebration, just be aware about that. You know, you're going to get a couple of projects announced here and there. A big chunk of them will be saved for D23 and specific earnings calls that are going to be provided by Bob Iger. And then we got more announcements on the horizon for 2024's Celebration and D23 as well. So it's going to be all spread out to expand this roadmap on a more progressive scale. Now that brings us to Kathleen Kennedy and exactly what is really going on with her and why her damage control has really hit a whole new level. Now we know that everything related to Kathleen Kennedy's, perception of the franchise is that it should be, free of George Lucas's philosophy, that it should not involve George Lucas's material, stuff like that. We already know that George Lucas himself has a big grudge against Kathleen Kennedy. In fact, they both don't like each other. That's why he did not attend the world premiere of The Rise of Skywalker. Just be aware about that. But that brings us to the next big thing. And that, of course, involves Kathleen Kennedy. Now, with Kathleen Kennedy now struggling still with both The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew due to setbacks and issues with those projects in particular, in a recent interview that she got involved in when promoting those shows, she went on to go into full damage control that reaches a new level like never before that's related to George Lucas. Kennedy actually goes on to state the following: "I am fully aware that my actions on this franchise have caused a great divide between fans, and just know that this was never my intention. I have a deep respect for this fandom and have tried my best to do what's right for everybody equally. And my love for George Lucas is also very strong, since he gave me such a great opportunity to lead this franchise for many years." Now again, I just want to pause here quick about what Kennedy is saying, which is obviously a big front. I don't believe that she means what she's saying here. This is definitely damage control, one of the biggest examples of damage control. We all know that Kathleen Kennedy does not like George Lucas. She does not love the guy. She likes the guy because, like she just said there, she kind of honestly openly stated that she likes the fact of what she got from George, but not George as a person, right? So I don't think she realized that, but she got that career of hers because of George. And that is exactly what happened. Now, we know that George Lucas views his actions as a big mistake. He totally regrets doing what he did by selling Lucasfilm to Disney and especially letting Kathleen Kennedy lead as the president of the company. We know that George Lucas has issues with that. And that is probably one of the biggest mistakes that anybody could have done. But you know what? On the other end of the spectrum, guys, George did not know what Kathleen Kennedy was going to do. Kathleen Kennedy made a promise to George that she was going to respect the characters, his concepts, his stories, and all the like. And what was he to know, I mean, Kathleen Kennedy never really had a big company to run like that before. There was no really big history to base it on. Sure, she had a couple of bumps in the road with Steven Spielberg, and they didn't really get along too much, but aside from that, there really wasn't much to base on that would prove to George beforehand that Kathleen Kennedy was just going to sink Star Wars like this. Now again, like I say, Star Wars has its good moments under Disney. It has good scenes, it has good sequences here and there, but thoroughly, consistently, it has been an up and down roller coaster without a doubt. Now, moving on to the next big thing is, of course, a lot to do with Kathleen Kennedy, further giving out examples of damage control again. So here we have it. Now, Kathleen Kennedy obviously is very much defensive now. She goes on to say, "I think he is a fantastic creator and holds so much value to Lucasfilm that it's best that we listen to more of his concepts now and move on to a better direction for this franchise." She's talking about George still, by the way. "Typically, we don't want to create problems, and I do own my mistakes I made with George and Gina, and I may have handled them both wrongly that created a bad effect on this community. I'm asking everyone to be nice to each other and respect each other's preferences over Star Wars and its inbound shows that we are about to release, especially with our upcoming shows." Get this, alright? The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. She had to, obviously, you know, plug in her shows there. Now, she goes on to conclude, "I am here to also address that Leslie Headland has done a fantastic job and loves this community through and through." Now, again, guys, I mean, it's almost like this whole thing of Damage Control by Kathleen Kennedy was like a workup to promote the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, as well as writer Leslie Headland. You know, I mean, if that's the case, obviously that is the case, but we know that Kathleen Kennedy probably and most likely did that on purpose. This is definitely a front. She does not really care about George. She does not love George. She has a problem with him. In fact, there's been a lot of the cast and the crew that have openly stated that Kathleen Kennedy has a lot of problems with George Lucas, and that's why she never wanted him on set for The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and of course, The Rise of Skywalker. Now, George eventually did get on set for a short time, for like maybe what was it, like 2.5 to 3 months max. He was actually helping out with J.J. Abrams and doing all these different scenes together that all got deleted in the long run. So that's the most that George was on set for the entirety of the sequel trilogy. It was around 2 to 3 months on and off for Episode 9. Now, gladly, George has been on the set many times for Mando Season 1, Season 2, Book of Boba, all those fantastic and great things, because George was actually involved in the Luke scene for the Book of Boba Fett. He was actually watching over Dave Filoni do his magic and stuff like that. So, once again, Kathleen Kennedy just proves to try and attempt to create a false image that she cares about the fans, that she cares about George, and basically everything was kind of just debunked right then and there when she just plugged in her shows, plugged in Leslie Headland's name, and it just kind of gave, you know, her whole statement a bad image. So again, this is something that I think is Damage Control that hits a whole new level that I've never seen before, at least by Kathleen Kennedy or anybody else perhaps in the Hollywood sphere, you know, especially with the, you know, whole Star Wars aspect. But when you look at stuff like this, guys, I mean, here we are, we're just a couple of days out from The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 2. You know, we got a little bit of a ways, you know, a couple more days to go, and it's said to be quite the improvement than Episode 1. So overall, guys, you know, fill me in below in the comments, you know, what you all have to say about Kathleen Kennedy's, you know, words. Do you really think it's Damage Control? Do you think it's genuine? Obviously, I know a lot of you guys are going to agree that it's Damage Control and that it's not genuine, but anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night